in these next 2 or 3 days, so it takes in Sunday and Monday. But these totals are going to add up, particularly through the Midlands and northwards into northwest England. We've got some major totals coming. I'm talking now in old money anyway, 3-4 inches of rain, which is equivalent to more than a month's worth of rain in these next 2-3 days. So we need to be aware we're living in a strange time.
Well, let's turn now to the weather. Extreme flooding has struck large parts of Eastern Europe, with storms predicted to sweep across the UK too. Last week, southern Austria was declared an area of catastrophe. Now, we've got meteorologist and founder of British Weather Services, Jim Dale, with us to tell us more. Jim, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Alexis.
We saw some extreme weather hit Europe last week, and we have a lot of warnings coming our way, particularly in the south of UK. We also had a tornado hit Aldershot yesterday. So how extreme is the weather going to get?
Okay, so look, I need to sort of declassify this in terms of which is the more severe of the two.
Sure.
Not just Europe, by the way. There's also been huge floods in North Carolina in the United States in the early part of the week, and today, in the last 24 hours, in central northern Japan as well, 4 cities virtually evacuated in terms of the same kind of scenarios that we've seen across eastern and central parts of Europe, including Italy, Slovakia, and other places, Poland particularly. So those places have been extreme. And to be frank with you, I've been doing this job for 40 years, and I've never known a week like the one we've just had in terms of these type of events. And we're not talking ankle deep floods here. We're talking floods, halfway up houses, really torrential downpours, not just for 5 minutes, but for 2 or 3 days. Look, that's a different kettle of fish to what we're getting in the UK at the moment, and I stress that. So yeah, we have got some fireworks setting off in the UK. Not too many at the moment, but there are basically southern parts into the Midlands. That's where they are at this moment in time. 1 or 2 of them are becoming thundery. I think in these next 2 or 3 days, so it takes in Sunday and Monday. But these totals are going to add up, particularly through the Midlands and northwards into northwest England. We've got some major totals coming. I'm talking now in old money anyway, 3-4 inches of rain, which is equivalent to more than a month's worth of rain in these next 2-3 days. So we need to be aware we're living in a strange time. The atmosphere, well, not so much the atmosphere, it's the seas, really, the oceans. That's the reason why we got the European and the Japanese type floods, because the oceans have warmed up so much with global warming, climate change, that the more energy has been transferred into the atmosphere. Once that transfers into the atmosphere, it can hold more water. You see bigger thunderstorms. All of this basically results in what we've been seeing. So we need to watch the space and be aware. And it's good that you're actually flagging this on your program, because although it might seem fairly sedate in most parts of the country at the moment, it won't last.
And when you say it will last, is this going to last into the next couple of months, or are we going to see some severe weather in the next couple of weeks? I know that predicting the weather is not the easiest thing in the world, but
You tell me.
Is this something that we're just now going to have to get used to and live with? We're going to be talking in the next hour in our climate section about how prepared are we for the flooding. And I should expect that knowing roughly what is going to be coming down in terms of water hitting us is going to be essential information for people prepping to prevent flooding.
Well, preparation and heeding warnings is the first sort of movements you should make in terms of any potential disaster or let's just say severe type weather events, and we're going to see it. So you asked how long this piece of string is going to be. The frank answer is I don't know. We're still got these warm oceans. We're still in hurricane season, so the reverberations of those could come in. I mentioned we live in a strange time. I'm going to introduce another word, and that's chaos. It's become harder to forecast. Definitely harder to forecast in these last few years than it has been for some time. Even the models we look at sometimes are struggling to see what goes on. We are. Look, make this absolutely clear. We're living in these strange times when the events that we're seeing have capitalized. In other words, we might see a normal day of thunderstorms that turns into something that we've never seen before, and that's been now appreciated in other parts of the world. So we're quite lucky in one way. We live in a temperate world, generally speaking, sedater weather than, let's just say, the hotspots, the tropics and these sort of things. But when it does heat up, when the oceans do heat up, when we see these sort of things, then it can result in these sort of catastrophic events. So we just got to box clever.
And Jim, just briefly before we go, because I've got to go to the news, we talked about, we mentioned that mile-long tornado ripping through Aldershot yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that these things are going to become more frequent. We're going to have to get used to the word tornado being used related to the UK. Is there any way to forecast these tornadoes? Is there any way to sort of, be prep for a tornado hitting any part of the country?
Well, they're only going to hit when you've got the right kind of cloud and the right kind of instability in the atmosphere. So cumulonimbus clouds, thunder clouds are the only type of cloud that will deliver. You've got to be watching the radar to see where these things are pricking up, and maybe, really and truly, these things happen very quickly. So and I've seen one myself, and they are extremely scary, to be frank with you. Even in the UK, they're big enough to do damage, as we saw in Aldershot yesterday. So look, it's not something that somebody's going to say, oh, you're going to get a tornado at 2:00 this afternoon. That it doesn't work like that. It really is a case of there's something coming along. The skies go black, really, really black, and then all of a sudden the wind will start picking up, and you'll see a vortex in the somewhere in the distance.
Does it help if I stare into my barometer?
You might get a little kick on it. I wouldn't be staring for too long. I'd be taking the cover first. That's the first thing to do. Take cover. Make sure you're in the center of the house is the best place to be in these sort of situations, away from windows, that type of thing. So yeah, there's a lot to learn going forward. We will talk again.
I'm sure we will. Jim, as ever, good to talk to you. Thank you for giving us your time. Jim Dale there, founder of British Weather Services, about the weather we're going to be having in the next few weeks.